Will not cause the rest of the country not to be in a blackout. Our engineers at the control center are working very hard to ensure that the rest of the grid can come back even as this line as we carry out the repairs. But we expect to finish the repairs before the end of the close of the day.
Thank you, Major Coril. I'm also joined Engineer Coril. I'm actually also joined by the chief pilot, who is going to be doing a very critical process because they're going to be carrying out like the conductor and bringing some helicopters to be able to put the insulator back on top. Chief pilot.
Okay. Kenya Power has helicopter, and its role is to do power line patrols and power line maintenance like what we are doing now. When we got this problem in the morning, I was given the information that the line we had a problem between Olgaria and Dandora. This can be detected by the controller, the Nairobi Control Center. Nairobi Control Center gave me information in the morning that we have a problem. Now the first thing to do is to get a helicopter to follow the line, low level, following the line. So when we reach this particular area, we noticed the conductor had come down. The insulator had disconnected from the tower, and it came down. After noticing that, we had to go back to Dandora to go and bring tools and equipment. One of the equipment we brought is this insulator, which came down. After coming with the insulator, now we are taking up the line. The conductor which came down, we are attaching to this insulator and take up the line up to that cross arm. And from there now, we will have the power. The reason why we are using helicopter is because of areas where they are not accessible. These high voltage lines, they pass areas where they are not accessible, sometimes are not accessible by vehicles. So the main reason we are using helicopter is to save time and to access those areas like here.
Dibal, note that this is particularly a very bad time to not be having electricity, noting that some Kenyans have already been put on lockdown and a lot of Kenyans are working from home. So we will be finding out more and actually recording to see how the whole process comes out, and we are going to be coming back to you in the subsequent bulletin. Back to you, Dibal.
It's indeed, Lillian Carey there. We're hopeful that the restoration of power will be very soon indeed. Now let's just move on to Eastleigh, where police manning road blocks around the Eastleigh area have been ordered to allow passage of essential goods and services in and out of the area. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, who met community leaders earlier today, also urged residents to comply with the 15-day lockdown directive, adding that it is meant to stop the further spread of the coronavirus in the densely populated urban centre. Seth Olale joins us now live from Eastleigh. Seth, what is the current state of play that you're learning?
Well, Dibal, shops remain closed and the streets are somehow empty. But curious residents are just, getting out just to see the turnout of events since this particular restriction order was announced by the Ministry of Health. And like you said earlier on, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, was here. He engaged community leaders who complained about some of the essential services and goods not being allowed inside and out of this area under lockdown. And so CS Matiang'i did promise that they will allow movement of goods. And that is why earlier today, we saw some trucks actually ferrying in goods in this particular area, but now you'll wonder where the goods are being taken because shops are not being allowed to operate normally. And what's been happening is since morning, we've seen some of the trucks carrying foodstuff being allowed in, and to the much relief of residents who here now say that, they are starting to bear the brunt of this particular effective. Remember that Eastleigh, as it were, had the highest number of confirmed cases for COVID-19, at least here in the capital. And it is not business as usual, Dibal. Shops have closed. And, it is having an effect on residents here who actually majority depend on businesses that they have been operating for the past 25 years. Earlier on, I spoke to one, Mohammed Haji, a businessman and a resident of Eastleigh, and he told me that such a scenario has never occurred, let alone been imagined to be taking place. But all the same, they're saying that the 2 weeks that they're going to undergo this particular restriction, it's going to be hard and difficult for them. And they're appealing to the government to at least provide some of the essential services and goods, not excluding monetary assistance. And so it is happening here in Eastleigh. This is barely a week here, but as you can see where I'm standing here along the 7th Street, I beg your pardon, in Eastleigh, this is just a replica of what is happening elsewhere around this particular area. And of course, we'll be giving you more updates in regards to the Eastleigh lockdown, which, according to Fred Matiang'i, who the CS for Interior, is terming this as a cessation of movement order. But clearly, it is not just a cessation of movement, it is also a lockdown because shops remain closed and only foodstuff is being sold along the streets. But for more updates, be sure to join us in our subsequent bulletin at NTV Journey as well as NTV 9 o'clock Prime. Dibal.
Yes, indeed, and we look forward to you apprising us. They are much late, of course, in the day in those bulletins that you've mentioned. We want to cross over now to Bungoma, where chaos erupted at the Bungoma County Assembly on Thursday afternoon after attempts by members of the County Assembly to oust the leader of majority failed. This is the second time the MCAs have tried to oust the leader of majority in the county, as Anita Mkonge explains.
Abuses were hurled, tempers flared as various MCAs engaged in a shouting match. The arguments ensued after over 60 ward reps from various parties had met for special seating to try and extend their earlier House calendar. The MCAs accused Speaker Emmanuel Situma of preventing them from ousting Florence Wekesa, who is currently the ward rep for Maini Ward and leader of the majority. The MCAs claim that Florence had been colluding with Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati in presiding over impunity in the House.
We want to streamline this assembly. We are fed up. They have denied us the committees. They have refused us to employ our 3 partisan staff. So, Ford Kenya themselves decided they want to change their leadership.
Wekesa, however, defended herself, claiming that on her part, she has been doing her work and has been doing everything in the county government's best interests.
Na mimi kama majority leader nataka niseme hivi. Wanaume ambao wanatembea kila wakati wakisema majority hafanyi kazi, nataka kuwaomba tena, ninawaambia waniache nifanye kazi. Hii ni nafasi ambayo wanawake wamepewa, na mimi kama mwanamke na wenzangu tuko tayari kufanya kazi.
Anita Mkonge, NTV.
Let's head over now to Embu, where 9 passengers have been put into a forced quarantine in Embu County after 2 passengers they were traveling with were found out to have traveled from Kilifi County using illegal routes. Embu County Police Commander Daniel Rukunga said police received a tip-off from a driver who had 2 passengers discuss how they used Pani routes out of Kilifi in order to reach Kitui County.
The public service vehicle was carrying 9 passengers. The driver says he realized he was not safe when some of his passengers started communicating via mobile phones how they managed to use illegal routes out of Kilifi in order to reach Kiritiri. Samson Kariuki alerted the police, who mounted a roadblock. The matatu was intercepted at a bus terminus.
Nilisikia wakiwa na mawasiliano ya watu wengine walikuwa nao nyuma wakiwa na gari nyingine. Sasa nikasikia hiyo story ya Kilifi na Embu na Melu, nikaona hiyo ni mambo ya kuhatarisha. Nia yangu kabisa kupiga ripoti, nimepepa watu kutoka Kilifi, nilikuwa nahurumia watu wa Embu kaunti yangu.
Among those caught in the mix was a lactating mother who narrated how she boarded the matatu a few kilometers to Embu town.
Nimetoka hapa Kasurire na hata sinjatembea mbali. Nilikuwa nimekuja shopping, sasa nimeambiwa nikuje quarantine na sina shinda. Sasa sijui sasa kutaenda anji, tembereji yangu imekuja 36. Kwa nimekuja hata kumpaia mtoto ndawa na ni wa miezi, hata ako nyumbani. Nimepigia papake, nimemwambia wakunje ili tuone vile kutaendelea.
The passengers were then put into mandatory quarantine at the Kenya Medical Training Center Embu campus.
Madaktari ndio na wachunguze waone kama wako sawa, alafu baadaye watapelekwa kwa quarantine kwa kusafiri kutoka Kilifi bila cheti chochote kutoka kwa maafisa wa afya. Tafadhali, hii ugonjwa iko si msaa na inaua.
After the quarantine, the 2 passengers will be prosecuted for traveling from Kilifi without authorization from the government.
Let's turn the crack now to party politics, where West Pokot Governor John Lonyango has told off KANU Secretary General Nick Salat for meddling in the running of a county assembly. According to Governor Lonyango, Salat's hand has been consistently in the sabotage of executive affairs, thus his move orchestrate an ouster of the majority leader and the chief whip. NTV's senior political reporter Kennedy Murithi has more details.
The West Pokot County Assembly for some time now has presented the perfect grounds for the county's Governor John Lonyango and KANU Secretary General Nick Salat to clash and fight their battles. Recently, the assembly, which has KANU members as the majority, effected changes to its leadership that was loyal to Salat and replaced them with those loyal to Governor John Lonyango. In a fierce battle that has seen Lonyango take control, the MCAs changed the majority leader and the chief whip in what they now tout as a warning shot to Salat.
General Secretary wetu wa National, pengine hata yeye na shangaa alikuwa mbunge na walikuwa na standing orders ya National Assembly. Kama amesahau afanye revision, hata na sisi tuko na yetu, akuja tuulize tuonyeshe. Na ile maneno ya kutabaka kuuliza watu wawili kwamba ilikuwa hivi, majority ni hawa. Na hiyo standing orders zinasema kama majority wamepitisha, kama vile walinipitisha, imekuwa final, hakuna mambo mengine.
Governor Lonyango was at hand to receive the MCAs, who to him had done a good job, indicating that Salat had for a long time used some assembly members to frustrate his development agenda, and now it was time to take control.
We do not want disturbance. Mpaka wana inside speaker. Na speaker amekataa kufanya vile amri ya hawa imetoka, na sheria inasema standing orders. Whatever the members have decided, ifuatwe. Speaker hawezi kwenda kukaa mbele na kuanza kufunja amri za watu. Na ukiangalia yote nyororo iko nje. Hiyo nyororo tumekataa na tutakata.
Meanwhile, in the Jubilee party, the woes surrounding the leadership seem far from over, as Deputy President William Ruto's allies continue to chastise the President Uhuru Kenyatta's side. In a terse message, nominated MP Gideon Keter has called on the party's Secretary General Raphael Tuju to respect DP Ruto, arguing they would do all in their power to take control of the party.
No matter how some people wish Ruto to jump the ship, we are not going to allow that to happen.
Keter argues they have been key players in the party and it would be political betrayal for the officials to now turn against the DP, who he says has played a key role in gluing the party together since 2017.
Kuna watu wachache tu who wish Ruto angekuwa the next captain wa Jubilee party. And their wishes can never hold any water and they can never be fulfilled. Because as the majority members kwa chama, we believe and support the leadership of Ruto to lead Jubilee and to lead the country.
Kennedy Murithi, NTV.
Landslides and food victims in the West Pokot County are set to benefit from the construction of new houses and other household items. The victims are from the tragic landslides that occurred in November of last year that saw more than 50 people killed and hundreds displaced in Nyarkulain, Muino and Parao villages. The construction of the 223 two-bedroom semi-permanent houses are being erected by the Kenya Red Cross Society after clearance from the government to undertake the task. The resettlement project was initiated after the government and other humanitarian agencies mobilized funds to resettle the victims, according to the West Pokot Governor, John Lonyango. 31 million Kenyan shillings was collected from well-wishers, 25 million has been used and 5.4 million remains in the account. Area Governor saying that they collected 31 million from well-wishers and 25 million shillings has been used and 5,731 shillings remaining in the account.
wale wote ambao walijitolea kufadhili huu mradi, kuhakikisha kuwa wale ambao walikuwa wameathirika mwaka uliopita mwezi wa Novemba na Disemba wamepata makazi. Najua kwa sasa pia tuna wale ambao waliathirika juzi, na tukishirikiana na county government na wafadhili wengine tutajadiliana tuone pia ni vipi tunaweza pia kuwasaidia.
Now, all border markets in Kajiado County have been closed indefinitely. The biggest livestock market in the region, Ilbisel Market, has also been closed. Kajiado County Governor Joseph Olelenku said this decision was reached after it was discovered that some businessmen from Tanzania still managed to sneak into the country using illegal routes. This comes after the county recorded its first 2 cases of coronavirus. Lenku acknowledged that the local herders will face an economic crisis, but allowing them to continue with business will encourage Tanzanians to sneak in. The county government has also set up 2 sanitization booths at Kitengela bus stop and market, and has rolled out a mass masks production by Senior Polytechnic to help distribute the masks to the residents.
The fact that these 2 cases originated from Tanzania leave no doubt that that is becoming a new spot that require urgent addressing. Arising from that, we now take a decision as a county government to close all markets along the Tanzania-Kenya borders.
Right, we'll take a short break right now. When we circle back, we continue with more. Don't go away.
Rashes again? Kiss Kids diapers. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Bye-bye rashes. Buy diapers. Choose Kiss Kids.
Sonadol Extra imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli kupambana haraka na maumivu ya kichwa, mwili na hata meno. Sonadol Extra, hakika maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
The Governor of Kisumu, His Excellency Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o, is pleased to announce to all property owners 100% waiver on all outstanding interest and penalties on land rates valid from 24th April to 31st May 2020 to cushion them from the effect of coronavirus pandemic. Payments should be made to Kisumu County Revenue account details on your screen, and deposit slips to be presented to the respective sub-county revenue offices for database update. Any unpaid rates after the waiver shall attract reinstatement of the whole amount owed. County Government of Kisumu, Harbour of Prosperity.
Welcome back. Saboti MP Caleb Amisi has called on his colleagues in Parliament to follow guidelines set out in enhancing donations to the less privileged in society during the coronavirus and flood situation in the country. Speaking in his Saboti constituency, when together with the county commissioner, they flagged off food donations. Amisi said it was not time for political supremacy, as the end product was ensuring the less privileged in society were cushioned from the threat being posed by the ravaging calamities. The MP said there were instances where his colleagues would disregard the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Interior for distributing food and essential items, and it was not for the betterment of the society. Amisi mapped areas in his constituency and beyond where the most vulnerable lived and promised to work closely with the provincial administration to bring friends and offer solutions. Right, let's over to Kajiado. We head over to Kajiado again, where Kajiado North CDF has distributed 90 water tanks to various water points stations within the county. This is to help curb the spread of coronavirus following the emergence of cases in the country. The county has so far recorded 2 cases. The residents are also set to receive face masks as well as hand washing soap. The county will also provide water to ensure the water tanks at each station are being well utilized. More than 1,000 families in Kajiado North have also received food donations from the Manji Foundation to cushion them through these tough times.
Every police station, every chief's offices, they have also been shared out to all the schools, all the public schools in Kajiado North, and we are also sharing them out in the markets.
Let's take a look at what is happening on the international scene, where with shops and factories closed all across the United States due to the coronavirus pandemic, nearly all the jobs created in the U.S. economy in the last decade were wiped out in a single month. An unprecedented 20.5 million jobs were destroyed in April in the world's largest economy, the biggest amount ever recorded. That drove the unemployment rate to 14.7% from 4.4% in March, the highest level since the Great Depression of the last century. The United States is home to the world's largest and deadliest coronavirus outbreak, with more than 75,000 fatalities and 1.2 million cases.
Go away without a vaccine. It's going to go away, and it's we're not going to see it again, hopefully, after a period of time. You may have some flare-ups, and I guess, I would expect that sometime in the fall you'll have flare-ups, maybe. This was an artificial turning off of a tremendous economy. We did the right thing because we saved millions of lives, probably millions of lives, but this was just all of a sudden one day we had to turn it off. When we turn it back on, which we've just started doing, I think it's going to come back blazing. I think next year has a chance to be one of the best years economically we've ever had, because there's tremendous pent-up demand.
Global leaders marked 75 years since the end of World War II in Europe on Friday, urging citizens to draw inspiration from the historic victory as the world battles against coronavirus pandemic. With parades and commemoration events cancelled or scaled down as part of efforts to contain the outbreak, Europe and the United States marked the defeat of Nazi Germany in a somber mood. Britain's Queen Elizabeth II, who, as a 19-year-old princess, joined the celebration on the streets of London, delivered a televised address to the nation at the same time that her father, King George VI, gave a radio address marking the victory in Europe Day in 1945. The muted commemorations come as the continent grapples with its biggest crisis since World War II, this time an invisible enemy that has killed over 270,000 people worldwide.
We cannot mark this special anniversary as we would wish. Instead, we remember from our homes and our doorsteps. But our streets are not empty. They are filled with the love and the care that we have for each other. And when I look at our country today and see what we are willing to do to protect and support one another, I say with pride that we are still a nation those brave soldiers, sailors, and airmen would recognize and admire. I send my warmest good wishes to you all.
Right, let's turn the crack now to sports, and Ida Waringa, she's standing by. Ida, Barcelona back to the pitch. Good news.
Good news indeed, Debal. I remember just reading that one of the players was saying, can you smell the grass? I think this COVID-19 pandemic has taught a lot of people not to take so much for granted. But yes, indeed, it was a beautiful sight for football fans. Lionel Messi juggling a football again. The six-time Ballon d'Or winner and other Spanish league players returned to action for the first time in 56 days with individual training sessions as their teams began preparing for football's return. Barcelona, Sevilla and Villarreal were among the first clubs back after the Spanish government this week loosened restrictions. Atletico Madrid is set to resume its activities today, and Real Madrid's players will be back at the team's training camp on Monday. The league is expected to restart in June with matches without fans. definitely great to see. While Liga Golden Boot winner Kylian Mbappe believes that he should share the award with Wissam Ben Yedder after the pair finished on 18 goals apiece. Mbappe was named the French League's top goal scorer after the season was ended prematurely due to the coronavirus. While the PSG striker finished with the same amount of goals as Monaco's Ben Yedder, but claimed the prize outrightly, having scored all his efforts from open play. 3 of Ben Yedder's goals were penalties, but Mbappe believes that his France international teammate deserves the same recognition. Mbappe likened his request to the English Premier League's awarding of 3 players with the Golden Boot in the 2018-2019 season, that being Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and, of course, Mo Salah and Sadio Mane. Well, to South Korea, where the K-League kicked off as viewers around the world got an idea of what football will look like in the coronavirus age. The stands were empty, bar a few officials and the managers who were all wearing masks. On the benches, the substitutes wore club-branded masks, and so did most of the coaches and the 4th official. On the pitch, there were no masks, but handshakes were banned. The atmosphere was silent for most of the game, apart from the players shouting and the final whistle that was met by deafening silence. With the Bundesliga returning next weekend and the Premier League hoping to be back next month, this was a valuable but surreal glimpse into what the new normal will look like. Interesting times ahead. Well, Belarusian table toppers Slutsk went down 2-1 to 4th place Energetic BGU as their lead atop the league was slashed to just 1 point. Consequently, Energetic shot up to 2nd on the log with 15 points from 8 matches played. The Belarus Premier League continues this Saturday as Slavia Mazir hosts 2nd place Torpedo Zodino, while strugglers Neman Grodno and Ru Brest face off later in the day. The league in Belarus has been one of the few to continue undeterred by the COVID-19 pandemic. This, despite the country registering over 18,000 cases so far, with around 100 deaths. Well, that wraps it up for now. I'm going to throw it back to Debal, and I'd have liked to hear how you would have butchered those names in the Belarusian Premier
Don't get me
League,
started
Debal.
on that. I have no sorting idea on so many of them. But I'm interested to know, Ida, so how we, the fans, expected also to cheer with the us really donning masks, you know? Isn't that also going to muffle our shouts and mute it?
Well, that's looking at it 2 ways. First of all, there won't be any fans allowed in the stadium for a while, a couple of months, or until they get the vaccine to this pandemic. And 2, well, if you're watching it from your house, I think you can shout all you can.
Without donning a mask, I presume.
Without the mask.
Fantastic, fantastic. Right, thank you for your valued company. Of course, that is all that she wrote, and on behalf of Ida and I want to thank you also for keeping it locked on NTV. Thank you.
Allah